I'll just tell you what's been going on. We've made a good contact with the French police here. Really, really nice, really friendly. Been getting a bit of information out of them. What I can tell you, what the police have told me, and this is all true. This is no bullshit, because you know me, I'm a truth teller. The police have told me that they have 600 police what do the whole coastline from Dunkirk round to Boulogne.
We're
which
live,
is
guys.
a very big
interesting stuff.
part
I'm going to stop that a sec.
They work in threes.
Sorry about that. I had to. I just wanted to see. Nobby said he was going live, but let's get all the guests on. Come on, let's get them on. Who else? So we've got Stuart on.
Good evening.
Good evening, Stuart. I did see Pat, but he's gone now. He's gone. He's gone. So yeah, little veterans in France, and I spoke to him today on phone, and he's got a load of footage, but they've been threatened already about having footage and filming, and they've had to delete some footage on the phone, but he's got other footage. So I just thought that'd be really interesting start. He is live now. Let's just keep him on till Pat gets back in.
Some smaller boats out which go nearer to the beach. There's only been one good day we've had on weather, because the weather's turned on me since we've been out here. But the police have been really good. Yeah, we've seen loads of police down here. They're out, but it's like the day when we had the boats. I was on Gravelock Beach, and they were coming off down Dunkirk side. We went down to Dunkirk yesterday and came along the round by Dunkirk and had a look to see if we could find any filming places. The problem we've got at Dunkirk is most of along the coastline by Dunkirk is all big built up factories and like sandworks and stuff like that. The only place I can see these boats coming off is a little canal that goes through, but then that leads into Dunkirk ferry port. Yeah. Now, once that dinghy's in the water, they're not allowed to stop it. So it looks like they're coming down this canal and going out. We were looking for one of the migrant camps yesterday down at Dunkirk, and
right. Sorry about that, guys. I just was interested. Pat's on now. Let's get Pat on. Let's get Pat on. Good evening, Pat.
Yep. Sound check. Sound check. Any good?
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. So,
okay. Back into
HMOs. That's what we're talking about tonight. So I've got a little speech to do first. We have got a video to show, and then we'll get off Lee, Pat, and Stuart what they think. But here's a speech. The blessing for tenants, particularly young professionals, students, and those on lower incomes. HMOs are affordable, flexible living in locations where single occupancy rents are untenable. In many urban areas, they are a lifeline, a roof over one's head in a world where home ownership is drifting even further out of reach. They also serve a crucial function in housing supply, especially in cities where demand far outpaces availability. They maximise space in a nation grappling with a housing crisis. For landlords, HMOs are a profitable model. With multiple streams of rent from one property, the yield is higher. From a capitalist perspective, they're efficient and attractive investments. No sentiment, just economics. The curse. Yet there is a darker side. In too many towns and cities, HMOs have become a symbol of decay, overcrowded, poorly maintained, and often blighted once thriving neighbourhoods. Families move out, transient tenants move in, the sense of community evaporates. replaced by bin-strewn front gardens, noise complaints, and absentee landlords who never lay eyes on their properties. In planning terms, HMOs can unbalance neighbourhoods, turning them into ghost towns by day and party zones by night. Streets lose their roots. Generational continuity breaks. The social fabric, once tightly woven, becomes threadbare. In summary, a blessing when regulated, a curse when unchecked. HMOs are a reflection of modern Britain's housing dilemma. Short-term necessity against long-term community stability. The key lies not in demonising the model, but in governing it with wisdom. Planning controls, enforcement of living standards, and limits on density are essential. Used wisely, they can ease pressure. Left to sprawl, they consume the soul of the neighbourhoods. In the end, the question is not whether HMOs are inherently good or bad. It is whether we, as a society, have the will to shape them for the common good. So that's my little speech there on HMOs, and all that took was HMOs, a blessing or a curse in ChatGPT, guys. That's all it took to write all that. And I've got to agree with loads in that. You'll hear Pat talk a lot about the cost of housing, cost of some of these flats in London. You know what I mean? You have to pay 100 grand as a deposit and stuff. And, you know, we've talked in our party, we talk about foreign ownership. There's loads of people who have properties. They're not bothered about them. They don't check on them. They get run down and worn out. We've also got a lot of pitfalls in the system to do with regulating all this. And when I was in Hull a couple of years ago with Arlene, we firsthand had a taste of what this was like for a white couple under 30, and they were being abused by a landlord who's already been done for abusing people. This is right now. This is right now. He already had a company, and he was guilty of nearly killing people. And in his thing, he got took off directorship, started a new company with a new different name, put someone else in directorship, and he's running it. And he were bullying these tenants, but we sorted them out before we left Hull. Me and Arlene sorted that situation out. But you know, it's happening across the country, and I've reported on HMOs in Oldham. One of the areas where I ran, a woman got me onto these HMOs, and she said there'd been a lot of traffic. The next thing, there was like all the contents of a room at the end of the road. You know what I mean? Or just all dumped at the end. Obviously, someone else has come into that house, not wanted that stuff, got rid of it, and put their own stuff in. You know what I mean? And she talked also about the pressure on parking and stuff in the area. She said, when you come round at night, John, during the day it's dead empty. When you come round at night, you'll see. And I went round at like 8 o'clock one night, and if I'd have come in a car, I wouldn't have been able to park on that woman's street or the street in question because there was just no room. You know what I mean? So there's all these things to take into consideration. But, you know, I'm going to put a little video on, and this is what I think about, you know, the kind of thing that we should do with an HMO. Then we'll go to the panel. Here it comes. Bear with us. Oh, guys, let me just mention 23rd of August, and I've already put the link to our website, is our party meeting. Email only invitation, and I've just done my email to invite myself, so I'm registered. So I expect that of all party members. Get an email sent to the admin email address, please, and say you're attending, you and how many. And, you know, if you said 3 and 2 of you come, we're not going to kick off. So just please get emailing. My email, hang on, I'm just going to do it right now. I've sent it to the admin email just then that I'm coming to that party, right? So I'm just, the meeting. So just for everyone, let them all know. 23rd, Saturday, 23rd of August. I'll put the link to the party. There's a link to the National Housing Party announcement for the conference. And don't forget, you can email admin@nationalhousingparty.uk. I can tell you that we're going to have Nobby's going to be there, Little Veteran's going to be there, and there is a separate birthday celebration going on. But everyone who comes to camp, whether they're celebrating the birthday or at the party meeting, will have to be documented into the camp. So just let me just get that straight with everyone. We're not having a meeting to form an uprising in like street movements and that. We're having a meeting because we want to run in local bloody elections. That's what we want to do. And that's what we've been doing for 3 years with the National Housing Party. And I just want to contest to other people, what are you doing to change things? Probably not as much as we are doing. We're looking forward to some successful campaigns, and we've had some successful results already. Just want people to know, you know what I mean? You can say whatever you want to me, Pat, or anything, but at least we are running in bloody local elections, which is more than a lot of you lot are doing. If you want to donate to the party, please do. We need leaflets. We need thousands of leaflets, guys. And we do need some money for leaflets. So please donate to us. But anyway, let me go on with this show and let me just put that little video on and then we'll get to the panel. HMO, the Egerton Arms. Now, you know, like, are we wasting it? Why don't we use it for someone off this estate? Could be old people, someone with a wheelchair on bottom. Above could be someone whose family lives on here. There's no room for them and they've got a room here. Because if it's someone local, they're less likely to be gangsters and having all sorts of people coming round. And they could easily be vetted, and our rules just benefit the landlord. Councils could stop these HMOs turning into what they want. But you know, this is in a residential area, but it's not on a street and it's a pub. So what do we do with it? John.lawwrence, National Housing Party. So that's the Egerton Arms near me, guys, turning into an HMO. And like I said, you know, if a lot of HMOs will get people who aren't from the area, and I get what that I said at the beginning, I get that. But you know, like there could be an house, could be a family, the lad or the girl's grown up, there's not much room, you know what I mean? You've got younger siblings who need rooms, and that'd be a perfect place for them to start before they get into the world, you know what I mean? Security and all that is minimum these days, the cost of all that, so it can be afforded. No, but our councils need to show some backbone. They haven't got any backbone. But anyway, let's get to the panel. Pat.
Well, I'd just like to remind everyone the reason that we did this particular live stream about HMOs is because the National Housing Party are currently creating a new recruitment stroke warm-up leaflet, because we've got one warm-up leaflet which is really good with certain issues on it, and you know, we want to create another one because, for example, when we hit a ward, we leaflet the ward with a warm-up leaflet, then the candidate will do their personal leaflet. And now, once we've got this one ready, then they could also use this one. So their electorate could easily get 3 different leaflets in 1 year to get them used to our message and our propaganda, so to speak. So on this new recruitment leaflet we're creating, we had a workshop to decide what issues we're going to be putting on the leaflet. And on the front of the leaflet, it's going to be about housing. And we decided to possibly put something about HMOs. Should we ban HMOs, which is housing of multiple occupants? Also ban Airbnbs because they're disrupting a lot of communities, and ban the right to buy social housing. But we kind of agreed on those two, about the B&B and the right to buy, and the HMOs we weren't so sure about because John raised some very important points that maybe we shouldn't say we're going to ban it. So this is what this stream is about tonight, to discuss the ins and outs of HMOs, the pros and cons. Because initially, most of us kind of did agree that they are not good for the community because they're using them for housing asylum seekers, single males. Brings problems to the area, like John said, all the traffic, drug problems. But those are separate issues which I will go into later. So yeah, I mean, I'll go over to Stuart first, and then we'll go to Lee, and then we'll come to me. Well, to say what I think about it. So go over to you, Stuart.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I actually looked into some of the costings and some of the expected costings for HMOs. Now, you have to really struggle with any AI and with the government websites to find any information, especially when you're working on a mobile phone. But this is the sort of thing I found. Now, these are only figures from 2019 to 2022, and this is from the National Audit Office, this information. Struggled to get it out of them as well. So the original estimate for 10 years of assisting asylum seekers with housing, and this is just the housing part, nothing else. So the original estimate was 4.5 billion over 10 years. It's now estimated, with the estimated growth that it's had of 1.7 billion a year, it's going to now estimate for that 10-year contract at today's prices, so we've still got another, 4 years to go, 15.5 billion. So that's more than tripled the original estimate.
So what's this 15.4 billion?
Okay, so the original contracts that the government estimated for asylum seeker housing was originally 4.5 billion. It's now estimate that was over 10 years.
So is this for HMOs or for hotels as well?
No, this is just HMOs.
Right.
Just HMOs. If I can get that through, it's not, this is no private renting, nothing. This doesn't even touch the rental market. This is all government contracts with SIRS, MERS, and another one called Clear Springs. But I'll get to that later. Sorry, this may take a little while to get through. So original estimate, 4.5 billion over 10 years. We've got 4 years to go, and they're now saying it's going to be 15.5 billion at today's prices. Supplier profit is estimated at a minimum of 383 million pound in profits. That's split between three companies over 6 or 7 areas in the country. So you've got Serco, you've got MERS, and you've got Clear Springs.
Stuart,
no, I'm not going to go through each area of the country.
One sec, Stuart. One sec. Just let me interrupt. So, so I know you've mentioned Serco and all that, but like normal people are getting in on this because, like, we have.
I can get to that a little bit later, but I thought I'd get through this and then let somebody else have a go and comment. So I'll just say that Serco. Now I didn't get to look into MERS and I didn't get to look into Clear Springs, but Serco is owned by the normal hits: BlackRock, JP Morgan. There's another one called Wellingmans, FIL, Vanguard, Mercantile. They're all foreign-owned companies. So none of the money that we are paying through our taxes for the government-provided housing is all going to foreign companies, apart from there are two, shall we say, coveted royal friends, Nicholas and Rupert Soames, his grandson. They earn a large share of profits, which if you go into Company's House, there's also connections to Prince William. But as it stands, I'll just add that the government contracts, now the prices I gave you does not include training incentives for staff, and the contract is they will house you. Their trained staff will be undiscriminative and trained to be kind. We will provide you with 3 meals a day, cash, health costs, and also if you've got complex bail conditions or bail. So if you're an asylum seeker and they go, oh, well, you can stay here while we decide on you, that's even more money, and that becomes a more complex issue. They need more security. So again, that's a separate contract, and I haven't even gone into that. So far, we're looking at over a 10-year period, the estimate has tripled. All the money's going out of the country. It's not being kept in the country. And there's even a special clause for arsonists to have much more robust furniture. Seriously, that's in the contracts. Oh, and they must be housed around areas of cultural compatibility. So that obviously brings in voter bases. So obviously that's going to affect any election we have, even at the local level. So I'll sort of land the plane there, and I'll see if anyone's got their comments, and I'll shut up for a while.
Just let me now. You talked about these big companies. I know there's a councillor in Oldham. We call him the HMO King, and he's called Cameron Gafford. And he's renting out properties. The council called him out the other week because he'd been convicted of having an unsafe property. So there is just normal people who aren't connected to BlackRock. So
yeah, sorry, John. I know I'm jumping in, but to tackle that is I looked a little bit into it. I didn't get much chance today, but did you know that the Bank of England does buy-to-let loans for non-UK residents that don't even live here? So that's again what you're coming into is bad management of rental properties, and again there are properties that are being rented out on all these schemes, and again the money's going abroad, and it's not going to British people. It's not even going to a British resident who's going to pay.
My point, all being saying that is, you're just talking about money to do with Serco. What about all the other money as well that we're paying out? So if you say it's 16 billion, if you add on the individual people like Cameron Gafford, then it's going to be like 30 billion. You know what I mean? So that's what the thing I'm trying to point out there is that the cost that you're saying is a lot, but it's more. It's
absolutely.
More,
then you've got all the buy-to-lets that are going to people from abroad. Again, the money's not staying in the country where it needs to stay.
Yeah,
it's bad enough that we let non-UK residents buy it, but if they don't even live here, they're not then spending the profits.
Yeah. This one of the things in our policy about housing is foreign people and companies, or foreign companies owning residential properties in the UK, and we're just not having it. We don't want it. But anyway, that's very interesting. I can always guarantee Stuart's going to come up with facts and figures, and he's just come up with billions. And no, we can't say that isn't not happening. That is happening. Serco and all that. You can look at the procurement files, which he's been sending me links for, and they tell you how much Serco are making and all that, and they aren't lying. So very interesting stuff. Now, let me just get to a little video.
Sorry, John. Can I just add that the figures I gave you were only for 7 areas of the country. It did not include the Southwest. It did not include Scotland. It did not include Wales. It did not include Northern Ireland or even bloody Isle of Wight. And they hide the figures. It's so hard to find. It took me ages to find all this. I've got a little bit more, but obviously I'll let you guys get on.
Right. So we'll get on to Lee, but this is one of the videos that Lee sent me. It's only a couple of minutes long, but interesting stuff. And I've got to take note of stuff that the guy says in it. Here we go.
So we're out in Sherborne Ward today. This is one of the areas that's going to be included in an Article 4 direction that we're looking to implement to limit the number of houses of multiple occupation. So an HMO is where 3 or more people live together that do not know each other. So we have a plan that I've been working on called an Article 4 direction to limit the number of houses of multiple occupation in the city. The proposals cover 11 out of 18 wards in the city, and as I said, Sherborne is one of those areas included in that. So an Article 4 direction is a piece of legislation that you can use to restrict rights for people to do things to properties. So with HMOs, at the moment, investors can buy a property and they can turn it into an HMO without any planning permission. What this will require is they get planning permission to be able to do that, and that allows us to put a lot more conditions on what people can and can't do to their properties. It allows us to have HMOs in the city, but not in concentrations, not in one area, and it allows us to maintain that community feel for an area, and areas like this allows people to continue to enjoy living here.
The Article 4 direction that we're trying to get through quite simply helps us stop sandwiching from HMOs, and as soon as we get that, we'd be able to limit how many HMOs come into Sherborne. And so it isn't just the road behind me, it is the entire area.
So I've been listening to residents for some time, we've been working on these proposals for a while. We're going to be going out to consult on this in September to get those views of people, see what they think about the proposals we're putting forward.
Interesting stuff there, and I've got to agree. You know, the council want a bit of control over the area, like I said, and I would be absolutely happy with that if there was going to do something like that. But they've got to get some legislation to sign things up. You just couldn't make it up how difficult it is when really we need to be doing this sort of thing. But let's get over to Lee. Lee.
Right, so firstly, a lot of what Stuart was speaking about, it's actually foreign direct investment. I've been looking into this quite a lot, and I'll be speaking about it at a later time. Well, basically, when I've got all my research, when I've got all my ducks in order, so to speak. And with another side of HMOs, so I feel like I'm repeating myself because I've said this so often. So you go out, you make the biggest investment of your life, right? You buy an house, yeah, you and your family, right? You work hard all your life to pay for it. You're paying interest on it. You pay through the nose for it. And in the area where I'll be campaigning, you're looking at about 300 to 350,000 for the average house. Yeah, so you buy that house. Somebody with a bit more money than you, they've got their own house with their family in it. They buy a second house. They turn that into an HMO. They move any old Tom, Dick and Harry in there, taking housing benefit or providing that the rent's paid. They don't care what goes on in that property. Like you said before, they're almost like absent landlords. As long as they're getting their money, it's kind of like a you bought it how you saw it situation. They're not going to maintain it very well. You're not going to find enough wheelie bins and stuff outside of it because you're catering for more people realistically than should be living there. You've got people working different shifts, coming and going at all hours of the night. Now you've just bought the property, you know, you've been living in and you bought the property right next door to this place. And it's the biggest investment you've got. When it comes to you selling, getting the ump and just saying, oh, look, I'm selling up and I'm moving off, you're not going to get the price that that house is really valued at because of what's going on. If you look at my Facebook page that I do for NHPUK Bedford, there's photographs on there and posts I put on there all the time because I quite often go around the ward, and there's just fly tipping all over the place, and it always just happens to be quite close to one of these HMOs. The wheelie bins are always overflowing. There's always you know, them little tags that you get on the recycling bins saying, oops, we couldn't empty this because you've put something in it that you shouldn't have. And it just messes up the area. Now, there are some things I wouldn't want people to get confused with an HMO. For instance, like I was saying to John earlier, there's a place in Bedford called Carris. Now, that's a big building, loads of little self-contained places in it. It's security controlled, and it's for young girls and women that they're pregnant or they've just had a baby, they've got nowhere to go. Like I say, they've got security there. If the partners do want to come along and visit them, they've got to make an appointment. They can't stay for too long. They'd rather you didn't. That's a positive thing, to have loads of people in one place. Now, that place in Oldham that you showed with the ex-pub, honestly, that's quite a posh HMO, to be honest. If you looked at some of the ones around my area, yeah, there's a complete contrast between them. So maybe not banning them. Definitely cut down on or ban foreign direct investment in them. Secondly, regulate them. Absolutely regulate them. Listen to the homeowners and the people that have lived around those areas all their lives and take their opinion in and actually do listen to them and follow what they say about it. Otherwise, you're just turning nice areas into ghettos. So, yeah, that's all I've got to say on that for now.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. Interesting stuff all round. It's a very big, deep conversation, really, because you know, some of the stuff Lee was saying there was, you know, they cause a big problem for people. You know, they devalue people's properties. You know, and so during this stream, I thought, well, maybe they need to have strict limits on how many HMOs are allowed in a street. Also, I was thinking they could potentially ban any companies from doing HMOs. So the argument for having HMOs is obviously we're in this is such a deep subject. The reason they need HMOs at the moment is because the housing crisis is so bad and there's so much people homeless, so many people homeless, and there's a lot of single people, and this is a result of Christianity breaking down. And there's, like myself, I'm a single person, John is, you know, Stuart is now, wasn't before, you know, and so the reason they do have them is because all these big houses, what were built many years ago, were for families, and we just don't have that anymore. There's not that many families like there was before. So to actually completely ban them, I think would be going a little bit too far, because obviously they are needed. Because if they have lots and lots of big houses everywhere and there's just loads and loads of single people everywhere, you're just not going to be able to house those people. So so yeah, I think we could say that we would put a ban on companies being able to operate HMOs like Serco and all these BlackRock companies that Stuart mentioned. Definitely a ban on those companies. Also, the foreign aspects of it. Our policy is to completely ban foreign ownership of property and land in this country. So Serco, is Serco a foreign country or not? A foreign business or not, Stuart?
It'll tell you that it's an English business, but it has a lot of American investors. And I did search some of the links. BlackRock, Vanguard, they actually own a big part of Serco.
Yeah.
So they're all of these companies are intertwined and own each other, and bits of this and bits of that. So it can be really hard to find out the roots of it all. But yeah, you know, most of this money is just going abroad.
Yeah. So our policy of banning foreign ownership of property and land would exclude many of these foreign companies, which is sucking billions of pounds out of our country. That's one thing. So another thing me and John discussed was, you know, two things. What people talk about is the asylum seekers, right? You know, all these companies like Serco, etc. But our policy is to completely stop accepting asylum seekers. So that's a different problem altogether. It's not really a HMO problem. It's just that we accept asylum seekers, and we shouldn't. We should not be accepting any more asylum seekers for citizenship and housing. That's one. The other thing is the drug problem. People say you get a lot of single people in these HMOs, and it sometimes creates a bad drug problem in certain areas. And we've got a policy to deal with the drug problem as well, because the drug problem is only a problem mostly because it's illegal and it costs about 10 times the price of what it should be. So all these people are out thieving off their neighbours, and you've got drug dealers hovering about. All this would be taken off the streets through our policy of a trial period of 4 years. We would test our policy to completely decriminalise all drugs and put it in the hands of doctors for prescription only. And we clearly say in our policy we don't encourage people to take Class A drugs or any drugs. But, you know, the way it is now, it's not working, and it's a disaster. So those two issues there, they wouldn't be a problem within the HMO. So what I'm saying is maybe not ban them, but have strict criteria. For one, on how many you're allowed to have in a street. Maybe you should only be allowed to have one in a street. You know, who can actually own HMOs? So how many houses are you as a landlord allowed to do it from? And I would say just one house, you know, because then you're not just going to get these greedy, you know, like it's a real driven business, isn't it? And you're on mute, John. So yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating subject, and we will be putting something on the leaflet about it. But I think ban the companies from doing it. That's one, and limit how many properties a landlord can do it with, and have councils to have the power to limit how many you can have in a street or an area. John.
Yeah, that's similar to what the council guy's saying there, and you know, I'll agree with it. Definitely not ban them, but utilise them better, and put more restrictions down of what you can do. That, but yeah, that's good. I like that. I like that. But you know, I just like I said, it can be used for other things, and cost isn't a lot. Security and security cameras, and so it's not a lot. That's not a lot now of cost. So we can do that. We can have that block where, like, you know, there's bigger pubs where we can have like several young women in, first timers coming out, and like get the mothers, the young mothers thing. There's a couple of blocks of flats in Oldham Grt that I've weighed up for something like that. But yeah, definitely use them more for the community and forget these big companies and abusing them and stuff like that. Yes,
I mean, let me just add something. So I live in London, and a lot of the houses in London, they're like, when they were originally built, they were really big houses. And over the years, they've been like cut into like 3 or 4 flats now. So they were sort of doing it years ago. But the difference with a HMO is they all use the same bathroom and the kitchen. I think that's the difference. So yeah, it's definitely we're going to say something about it on our leaflet, and but the Airbnbs, I think they've got to be banned because they're just a total nuisance in people's blocks of flats and stuff. And the right to buy social housing, I think we all agreed on that. That should be put back to what it was before. Maggie Thatcher brought that in, right to buy. So yeah, what do you want to say, Stuart?
Yeah, I was just going to say Airbnbs. I do think that in smaller towns, rural towns, towns that need tourism, stuff like that, I do think Airbnbs can be a very good idea. I don't think they're much good in urban areas. I think no, but I think coastal towns that need the tourism, and people just coming in for a weekend or a week, and they're there to holiday. It's not like you're getting in permanent people there, or and most people are sensible with places like that because they want repeat custom. So they have families. So I'm a bit dubious about more coastal towns because I think it can affect tourism, but definitely in urban areas, a full blanket ban. I agree with you on that, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, surely the coastal towns had they have bed and breakfasts and things like that already, which should be able to cater for those sort of people. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just saying from experience on my travels, knocking on doors in London and where I live as well. They got a few in my block, and they're just like no one wants them because you're getting a constant stream of suitcases being dragged up and down your landing, and it's just people don't want them in residential areas. And like I suppose you got a point there, Stuart, that they should be in an area where there is bed and breakfast and all that. If they're hotels and all that, where you're going to expect tourists and visitors, people on holiday and things like that. But,
and you also get quite a few farms that have a couple of cottages on site, and that supplements their living, which obviously the government is crushing their living. So they quite often make. I know a couple of farmers near me, and they all got little cottages so they can make ends meet. So and they have constant people in and out over, especially the summer months. So I think it's a good little line for them.
Let me just interrupt. Good evening, Antonella. Lovely to see you. Good evening, chat. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Don't forget, 23rd of August, our party meeting at PTSD camp in Bath. I will put our link to our article on the website about it. And remember, it's email invitation. So, Vinny, anyone in the chat, Mark Williams, get emailing. I've done mine, and Pat will verify that. Go. So get emailing, please, guys, and pass it on to whoever.
What do you want to add to anything to that, Lee?
Yeah, well, what you're saying about the Airbnbs, if it weren't for, obviously, you used to get hotels, yeah? A lot of people I know, you got tarmacking crews. This is just from my experience because of the nature of my job. Tarmacking crews, The guys that were sorting out the speed cameras across the motorways, they're all working away. You got engineers, you got all sorts of people working away. Now they're going to need digs for a week, weeks at a time. They work like Monday to Friday, knock off early on Friday, drive home, see the families on the weekend, and come back. Now, these people now, they're using these Airbnbs. Now, if you had the use of the hotels, yeah, and guest houses and places like that, and they weren't being used for obvious other reasons, yeah, you wouldn't even need them. They should. It shouldn't even be a question, realistically.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that has definitely spilled over into people residential areas. Like the asylum hotel scam is so monumentous and massive. Like, you know, I don't even know how many it is, but it's like where I live, there's a number of hotels I know that are being used for the asylum seekers. And like Lee just mentioned, all these workmen who go around all around the country, they've probably end up using these Airbnbs in council blocks and this is like, you know, you might get a foreigner who's been given a council flat. The foreigners bought the council flat, so they've bought it, and they might be a UK citizen, but they you know, I know a few, right, and they haven't even been born here. They weren't even been born in this country. They've bought their council flat. They're renting the council flat out, you know, to do B&B. And it's just disgusting what they've done to this country. It's unbelievable. And if it's, even if they're not doing an Airbnb, I know that they're renting out for like £500 a week for a 1-bedroom flat in London. £500 a week for one bedroom flat. So yeah, it's a massive. I mean, you know, immigration. That's the main symptom of the crisis, obviously. Like our policy is to completely stop permanent settlement immigration, no more refugees for citizenship, detain and deport the estimated 2 million illegal. Just if we did that alone, deporting the 2 million illegals, that would ease up so much pressure on the housing market. All the rents would come down, availability would be much better. You know, might not make it perfect, but it would make a big difference, I think. And like our policy says, we want to build, you know, hundreds of thousands of detention centres to deal with this a long-term problem, to deal with it. And then these detention centres can be built so they can be turned into social housing for the estimated 1 million homeless of our own people.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, thank you in the chat. Don't forget, 23rd of August, our party meeting. I've put plenty of links in the screen there. I want to see some donations, guys, please, if you don't mind, for leaflets. That's what we spend our donations on. And we're going to be busy. I'm out this weekend in Grimsby again. So, and then Pat will be out all week as well doing his campaign. We want some leaflets, and we're with it because we do stuff and we're running in local elections. You know what I mean? You can say whatever you want, but we're doing something that's positive, that's going to help sort the system out eventually. So thank you to the chat. Thank you, everyone, coming on, talking. If you've got any issues about the HMOs, you can email us about any stories and stuff like that. And, you know, like in my area where I'm running, there's a particular area. I got to know a lad there, and he had a 1-bedroom flat. And it's in an area where there's sort of like vulnerable people. Opposite him, above, there was 2 flats with 2 92-year-old sisters. Both have one of these flats each. And what they did, they moved like a pair of smackheads in. And I'm not joking. One of them had a knife to someone's throat. And then a couple of weeks later, the lad who I knew got hit over the head with a blunt instrument. And so I emailed the housing association, didn't get any answer. A couple of weeks later, there was a meeting on the estate with all the councillors, all the housing associations and the police, and I just brought it up. The next morning, before 9 o'clock, the housing association were emailing me. Within 3 days, of people had been moved out, but they put them there. They weren't going to do anything, so they put them kind of people in a vulnerable area. So we've got to be really careful. We've got to vet people. There's got to be restrictions like the video we said about the councillors getting this thing. It's all got to be looked at. It definitely has, and I won't be happy until it's done. And like I said, it happened in my area, and I don't doubt it's happened in everyone's area who's on this stream tonight, especially Lee's. You want to see his face, but I put the Bedford page into the chat. So if you get time, guys, you're on Facebook, please link up with the Bedford page. He's got loads of interesting things on there about his area. Very good to see. But yeah, great stream, that. Some interesting stuff. I like the figures that Stuart come out with, but, you know, them figures are just like unbelievable. The amount of money we're spending and all this, and it's costing us. And Pat, we're in trillions in debt already, aren't we?
Yeah, as a nation, we're trillions in debt. You know, 300,000 people completely homeless. Another 700,000 odd on stuck in their mums or on sofas in family members' houses. And I'm sorry, but I'm just going to have to say this, but Reform UK are supporting Israel with wars in the Middle East, which is going to potentially cause a refugee flood into Europe. And they've openly said they're going to accept refugees through the proper channels. So wait for that one, guys, because that's on the horizon. There's no doubt about it. You know, we're not in a position to help anyone militarily. We're not in a position to help any refugees financially. You know, when are people going to realise that, you know, we've got no housing, we've got no money, we're in debt, we're paying off debt every single year. My council, Camden Council, borrow £290 million every year, and they continue to promote all these minority groups spending. They just continually spending money. It's just unbelievable. So yeah, and if any last words on the HMOs, Stuart?
I'll just mention that you're talking about, obviously we were chucking money at Israel, we got our planes flying and everything. Yep. You also got to say we're still chucking our money at Ukraine.
Yeah.
And Keir Starmer has made a pledge over the next few years to raise defence spending to 5% of GDP. You can get figures anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5 that we pay in at the moment, depending on GDP figures over the last 10 years. He was blatantly asked, how are you going to pay for it and finance it? And this, he was asked every which way, and he just flapped and erred and we'll handle it, we'll get through it. You know, we're British, we'll get through it. And it's like, you've got absolutely no plan. You're just bowing down to Trump, you know, because Trump goes, oh, we're paying all the money, we're not going to protect you. Well, to be honest with you, fuck off. You know, I'll have the money here.
Language,
I do apologise. Sorry about that. But yeah, keep your money. I'll take it out of NATO. I'll take it out of the UN. I'll take it out of the WHO. I'll take it out of the WTO, which is another one. There's so many unelected organisations that suck money out of us, and that's before the wars and companies that are all owned abroad.
Yeah.
Look at Thames Water. What happened with Thames Water? You know, they're so much in debt, and we're going to have to hike your prices 20%. All the money's gone out of the country. It gets sucked up. And HMOs is another one that we need to strangle that and give it back to the British people. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Sorry for swearing.
Just to let the audience know that our policy on energy and the railways, gas, water, electricity, should be nationalised. Lee.
And drill. The only thing I will agree with Trump is drill, baby, drill. We've got our own oil. We've got our own gas. And we're covering farmland with solar panels while we're openly advertising that we're blocking out the sun. And, you know, putting up our own dust in the air and whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Lee.
So, yeah, in short, I'd definitely look into regulating, heavily regulating HMOs. As I said, the ones around my area, they're nowhere near as posh as that pub. And there are other buildings being repurposed into this. We've got a police station that's disused, that's now being made into 105 social housing flats. I feel sorry for whoever gets the custody suite. But yeah, and then, like I say, the area I'm on about, it's mainly flats, or there's a hell of a lot of flats. There's a hell of a lot of HMOs. And it's even the old QD building, they're going to repurpose. They've got a brown land project going on there where they're going to repurpose that within the next couple of years. And if you have too many people, they're looking at, like you said, there's 2 million people illegally in the country. Yeah. And every year there's more and more people coming in. Now, the Labour Party's building projects over the next 4 years, they're only looking to build 1.5 million houses. So they haven't even put a dent in the numbers you've given. So, yeah, it all needs heavily regulating, and we basically need to stop growing our population until we can, or permanently anyway, and actually sustain the population that we've got. Actually make it a country that's actually giving people incentives to work and to buy houses, and making it affordable and possible for them to do it.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Lee. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, EW. Thank you, Ivor. Everyone there. I put links into our energy policy went up last there and that, but very interesting chat this week. We've got a lot of experience with HMOs and that kind of thing. I've well documented it on my YouTube, other issues I've had, and it's not just in Oldham, it's across the country. One thing we never got to is who polices the rubbish. If you've got like properties with 7 people in, you're going to need more bins and stuff like that, but these landlords might be getting away with that, but the town centres look absolutely disgraceful. And Pat mentioned it, we've all mentioned that rubbish and all that, but thank you for joining us, panel. Thank you very much.
Just mention next week's stream, John. It's going to be about the law they're trying to pass about abortion up to 1 day. Hasn't it got to go through the Lords or something like that?
It might have to, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, they're nearly there. It's on the cards, and it's abortion from right up to 1 day before the pregnancy, basically. So we're going to be discussing that next week. Which
yeah, and I've got a little video that might be a bit upsetting that's going to go on before that, but I'll show you anyway. But it's all related. But that'll be next week. We've got a couple of special guests, so
yeah, we've got a couple of people, definitely 1, maybe 2 from the ADF party, the Alliance Democracy and Freedom Party, who we are close friends with. They're a Christian party like we are, so that would be Ken Thompson and the leader Tech Moon.
Thank you, Antonella. Thank you, everyone. Good night and God
Thank
bless.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers.